Vince McMahon is probably the most controversial name in pro wrestling today for reasons you may be aware of, and we all know who he is if we are a wrestling fan, but you won't hear his name mentioned on WWE television nowadays. For the longest time, he was actually the most influential person in all of professional wrestling, the owner and CEO of the WWE WWF for about 40 years, before he was unseated in 2022 amidst a well-documented legal issue that we could get into, but that's not what we're talking about today. Vince McMahon in his day was the owner and overseer of creative for The Wrestling Company, and also made it The Wrestling Company, starting out as a commentator but switching it up to become the biggest, baddest, most over-the-top villain in all of television in the late 90s and early 2000s. So wildly dislikable that the stars would make their name in the Attitude Era by simply putting the hurt on him. Stone Cold Steve Austin made a habit of this. Kane, The Undertaker also got their digs in, as did Vince's own son Shane McMahon at WrestleMania 17, with his borderline comatose mother Linda McMahon at ringside in a wheelchair. Vince McMahon would book himself into some crazy situations, often involving his own family, who helped oversee this billion-dollar wrestling empire. Even his daughter, Stephanie McMahon, found herself the subject of her billionaire father's questionable creative whims. And that's what we're here to talk about today. You're watching Sportskeeda Wrestling. I'm Kevin Kellum. We're looking back at quite possibly the craziest storyline that Vince McMahon ever booked in WWE. Before we go any further, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, click the little bell icon so you know to be notified when we drop our newest videos. You'll be helping us a lot to push towards 200,000 subscribers. Yeah, we appreciate it a lot. Also, give us your take on this entire story in the comments below. So let's get into it. Vince McMahon was no stranger to putting his family into freaky, uncomfortable WWE storylines, some of which they rejected off-screen, and some they participated in, like the aforementioned Linda McMahon gets sedated angle at WrestleMania 17. But in 2003, McMahon took things a whole nother level higher. Stephanie McMahon, his own daughter, was the face and general manager, an on-screen authority figure of the WWE SmackDown series at the time. She caught the ire of her father when she began to disobey his instructions and undermined his overseeing authority as the WWE chairman. For example, making a match between the next big thing Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker for the WWE Championship at No Mercy 2003. Vince becoming something of a tyrant at the time, and this was Stephanie's effort to push back against him. And if we know anything about McMahon, especially as a character, it's that he doesn't take very kindly to constructive criticism. Instead of simply using his power as a WWE owner to cancel the match, he gave Stephanie the option to cancel it herself for some reason. When she refused, he decided to book her in a match, an I Quit match, at the upcoming No Mercy pay-per-view. His own daughter. That wasn't against another woman or even a wrestler on the WWE's roster, but against Vince McMahon himself. Yes, this was a father versus daughter match. You don't have to wonder about this. It's a man who wants to clobber and maybe be clobbered by his own family members on worldwide live TV, especially in a match like an I Quit match, which is based on the principle of beating someone to the point where they utter the words "I quit" in defeat. A normal way for a father-daughter to settle a disagreement. No, it is not. Not at all. Questionable creative writing of a crazed billionaire in his late 50s, but certainly someone who's trying to push the needle and provoke the most attention possible. If Stephanie lost, she would surrender her position as the SmackDown general manager. Thankfully, Stephanie's mother, Linda McMahon, the current Secretary of Education in the U.S. government, and a woman who was comatose in a wheelchair earlier on in this storyline that we mentioned, intervened, putting a stop to absolutely nothing. But then again, what can she do to stop anything in this madhouse that is on TV here? She did try though, but Mr. McMahon, the character, decided it must be done. Vince McMahon was also running a simultaneous storyline where he was cheating on Linda, his wife, with Sable, and would use Sable to antagonize his own daughter, Stephanie, during the build-up to the match. Looking back at it, this was absolute chaos television, which I don't think would make it past the restrictions of today's modern standards, which is probably for the best. It was also stipulated that if Vince McMahon himself was defeated in the match, he would lose his position as WWE chairman, though I don't think there was much danger of that actually happening. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves here. We'll get to that. The match did take place at the No Mercy event in 2003 somehow, and nobody put a stop to it. But again, this is how McMahon looked at the time and approached things, trying to always push the needle some way. How are you going to tell this guy that his ideas are wildly inappropriate, even by early 2000s extreme pop culture standards? Stephanie was accompanied to the ring by her mother, Linda. Vince was accompanied by his storyline side piece, Sable, and he was looking as jacked up and as psychotic as a villain as you might expect for such an occasion. What followed is what can be described as a savage beating that didn't go on very long, but was memorably disturbing nonetheless, both in the time and in retrospect. Stephanie did try to rally some kind of fight by punching Mr. McMahon in his grapefruits, but by the end of this match, which was just around 10 minutes, she was not really in any shape to continue. It was uncomfortable. The whole thing, as we mentioned, uncomfortable. The estimated 9,000 fans in attendance in Baltimore, though, did react with oohs, ahs, lots of boos, and a-hole chants. They were not quiet, but as Michael Cole and Taz shared their disgust emphatically on commentary, even at one point calling McMahon satanic, it didn't feel worth it. Yeah, McMahon applied a Boston Crab submission as Stephanie agonized and wailed in pain, reaching out for her mother's hand at ringside. Despite the circumstances, she sold all of it in this insane setting. During Stephanie's comeback, the crowd was with her as she belted her father with a steel pipe. Yeah, they roared as she attempted pinfalls. For some reason, she could attempt the standard 1-2-3 pinfall in this I Quit match. It was a ridiculous circus. At the conclusion, Vince began choking his daughter with the lead pipe as she refused to say I quit before her mother, Linda McMahon, looking on in horror, threw in the towel on Stephanie's behalf. Congratulations, Vince McMahon. Good for you. You're a real winner. So there you have it. It happened. It exists. We don't have to tell you why a big jacked up 240-pound billionaire bodybuilder wailing on his daughter with a lead pipe is bad. It's self-explanatory. Hey, but if you're going for unbelievably evil as a character, I guess Vince McMahon, Mr. McMahon nailed it. Following this hideous debacle, Stephanie was written off of television and replaced with SmackDown's new general manager, Paul Heyman. Yes, the extreme ECW mastermind, with Vince McMahon very much continuing his unhinged behavior during the ruthless aggression era, as it was termed. What's weird about this is, well, more weird, is the whole thing coincided with Stephanie's real-life marriage to Paul Triple H Levesque. The wedding took place shortly after she was written off of TV, which is a weird wedding present, don't you think? Yeah. Vince McMahon continued his reign of terror as a WWE authority figure character until stepping back from an on-screen duty in the early 2010s, only appearing sporadically as WWE moved into the PG content era. But he did do some of his most evil work before that, like creating a religion of McMahonism, getting his head shaved, and embarking on the infamous do-rag era, and even torturing his illegitimate son, Hornswoggle, who wasn't actually his son at all. Which was all its own brand of unsettling. Stephanie enjoyed a stint in WWE's creative team when she returned, and also got another go at being an on-screen authority figure, forming the Authority alongside her real-life husband, Triple H, in 2013. Those who were watching at the time will remember that this wasn't the most offensive thing in the world, though it was maybe repetitive and a bit much at times, especially when you had to sit through the weekly corporate cane matches. Although the Authority did cross over with Daniel Bryan's WWE Championship win at WrestleMania 30, a very triumphant win that was widely received well, Seth Rollins' cash-in and subsequent WWE title reign in 2015, so not bad at all to see her in that type of supporting role. In the modern day, though, neither Stephanie nor Vince are involved with WWE in an on-screen business or creative capacity, which is probably maybe for the best that they had their time and now it's time for the industry to move on, but still be, I guess, connected to the past. Triple H is there as the head creative officer of WWE, guiding the ship week to week, and he's a close family member, married in with Stephanie, and Vince McMahon still owns a large stake in the TKO group, though he'll likely never have a controlling interest in it again. But that's about as far as we're going to go into that area of it. While While the McMahon family storyline certainly added some intrigue, it was really only for shock value in the late 90s and early 2000s, and they also got in the way of their own product. But as you can see, if you go back and you watch the match, there were people that reacted to it. We're not saying that it isn't something that was the best ever. It was probably some of the worst stuff that WWE's ever put on TV, but there was a crowd for it, and that crowd apparently bought tickets and watched the match live in Baltimore, or sometimes will watch it back in an on-demand way and ask, hey, how did this ever happen? Yeah, it's probably one of the most questionable matches that WWE's ever put on. For every Austin takes on Vince or Undertaker haunts Stephanie, there's McMahon in every corner at WrestleMania main event. Those are too much. Or Triple H marries an unconscious Stephanie. Yeah, that angle happened. Or the mysterious lockbox that was never answered, or we never understood what it was about in 2016. Sometimes stuff like this happens. Sometimes wrestling simply goes too far, and in retrospect, we're asking, why did they do that? Yeah, in a weird way, it's almost like these things need to happen so the course can be corrected. Otherwise, what will we talk about in videos like this? Will we talk about WCW Thunder? Hulk Hogan's glittering movie career? Thunder in Paradise? Yeah, I don't think so, lads. I don't think so at all. Is there another weird out there wrestling story we need to cover? Let us know in the comments below. And that's it for another one. What did you think of Stephanie McMahon versus Vince McMahon as a storyline and match? Was it the craziest storyline WWE has ever booked, or can you think of another one? Let us know in the comments section, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Sportskeeda Wrestling for more content just like this. You can also enable those notifications on so you never miss a video when they drop. Thanks for watching Sportskeeda Wrestling. We'll see you in the next one.